on the table for you is a conversation on commanders that are over and underhyped going into the year. So let's both give a couple of names for each category. Let's start with guys that are being slept on. They're going to have bigger years than is currently anticipated. Who do you got?
Dorance Armstrong. People have forgotten. This was a part-time Peter that put together over the last 2 years as many sacks as Chase Young did his entire time here, and then some. This is a guy that hadn't played 50% of snaps all but 1 year. Again, as a part-time third down kind of pass rushing dude. He's now a starter here. He's going to get pass rushing reps. This is a good pass rusher, and no one's talking about him. No one's mentioned him. It's just sort of, yeah, he's a guy. He's fine. I think this is an opportunity for him to kind of step up. Not exactly like Hassan Reddick did as a hired gun that went to Philadelphia and had 16 sacks. I'm not predicting that, but people are going to say Dorance Armstrong a little bit more as the season progresses.
So I think that's a great answer because he's been in the league for 6 years. He's never had more than 8.5 sacks. And in fact, until the last couple of years, he'd never had more than 5 sacks. But to your point, a lot of that has to do with usage.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're not rushing the quarterback and getting snaps and getting reps on the field, how are you going to put up decent numbers, right? 8.5 and 7.5 sacks the last 2 seasons, and he's about to play more than he ever has before. 10's not out of the question. That would be a huge win. I'm hoping he's in the 8, 9, 10 range this year. It would be a big, big deal for this defense if that's the case. He's only 27 years old. These are the prime years at that position. Big guy, strong guy, 6'4", 255, played his college ball at Kansas. I'll go to the other side of the ball with my first answer here. The commander that I think is not getting enough attention is Zach Ertz. Now, this is almost exclusively reliant upon health. And I don't think he's going to stay healthy because there's just not a good track record of that here recently. He has played 1 full season since 2018. And in fact, 2 years ago, he missed 7 games. Last year, he missed 10 games. So you're talking about half of the action over the last couple of years he was unavailable for. And you couple that with the fact that he's going to be 34 years old in November. And I understand the logic that says he's probably not going to make it through the entire year. They may not go out and draft Ben Sinnott as early as they did if they were confident that he could. But here's why I like Ertz as being unheralded right now and being an unsung hero early in the year. When he's on the field, he's going to get volume touches. Mm-hmm. Cliff Kingsbury likes throwing to the tight end. And I think Jaden Daniels, we saw the quick game in the preseason, is going to be told, get the ball out. Ball out as quick as possible often benefits the tight end, shorter routes, the running back leaking out of the backfield, and less longer developing things to the receivers on the outside.
Yeah, those safety blankets for quarterback, right?
I don't think it would be a surprise at all. Like if you told me right now against the Bucs, Ertz goes 7 for 63 or something, not surprising to me. If he had 8 catches for 71 yards, that would make perfect sense. I think when he's playing and not banged up, Zach Ertz is going to be a huge part of their offense and is going to get a ton of looks. In fact, I think he might lead them in catches in September if he plays in every game and he stays healthy. I think he's going to be that involved in the early going. He, right now, is not getting enough ink.
So my answer is very similar, and you'll see why in a second. Ben Sinnott, because I don't trust Zach Ertz to do any of those things. On paper, yes, I co-sign it, but I don't think he stays healthy. I think he doesn't have much left in the tank. I think he's more veteran communicative presence. I think he's more, almost like a coach on the field, good in the meeting room. I just don't know how much he's got left in terms of the burst, the juice, all of those things that you would need from your tight end to make some of those things happen. Hope I'm wrong, by the way, because it would be an amazing signing for next to nothing, for peanuts, for him to come over and be a great difference maker for Jaden Daniels. So I think the opportunity is going to be there for Ben Sinnott. It's hard to adjust. A lot of rookie tight ends, especially coming from where he came from. It's not like he was at Michigan or one of the Power 5 schools. But that adjustment is really hard. That tight end spot sometimes take a while. But I do think the opportunity is going to be there because I don't trust Ertz to stay terribly healthy.
Defensively, I've got to give you a guy now who I think is being slept on for the Commanders. And I'm going to go with Jeremy Chin because I don't think anybody's talked about him in months. I mean, shows like this, we break the team down by every angle he comes up from time to time. But you just don't hear a lot about him. This was a guy who scored a couple of touchdowns in a game in his rookie year, who had some huge games strung together, and in fact was the only rookie in the Chase Young season that really pushed him in any way for Defensive Rookie of the Year. As time went on and he kind of fell out of favor in Carolina for whatever reason, he just became a dude in the secondary. But I think that this group, led by Quinn and Joe Witt, who are excellent at getting the most out of defensive backs and thrive when it comes to scheming up the secondary. I think Jeremy Chin, who's a bit of a Swiss Army knife, who can do a little bit of everything, will be used at safety, will be used down in the box. We'll play some center field. There's some time where he's going to be running around with tight ends and maybe even blitzing. I think they're going to get more out of him than people are expecting. I'd go with Frankie Louvu, who I have a man crush on, but I kind of think everyone talks about Louvu and knows that he's a dude at this point. So Chin would be the guy for me who's undervalued. And that is the question for you guys at 800-636-1067. We'll get to the guys that are being over talked about and maybe are expected to do more than you and I see them doing in just a moment. But let's go to Drew, who's on the Eastern Shore, listening on the Odyssey app on Grant and Danny. What's up, Drew?
Hey, guys. Hey, love the show and can't wait to get down to Tampa this week. But I think that Payne and Allen, and you guys mentioned it earlier, they've had some subpar seasons, and I think a lot of that was based on Jack Del Rio, and I expect those guys to shine.
Oh, interesting.
With a better front seven all around and more creativity in what's going on. So I'm thinking those guys are both going to get hot, and it's going to be a hell of a year for both of them. On the unfortunate side, I think that I don't think Diami Brown has ever demonstrated that he's really the kind of caliber wide receiver we need. And I'd love to see him do well, but I think that that's going to be a whiff, unfortunately.
Drew, before you go, you said you're flying out to Tampa?
Yeah, Friday.
Good for you, man.
That's awesome.
Do you get to road games every year, or is this rare?
I tried. I think this year I'm hitting 5 of them, but one of them's Baltimore, so
that counts.
Baltimore, New York, and Philly.
I'll count that as a road game.
That's on the road.
You're in a road stadium. We were actually at the Orioles game on Labor Day. Me and the wife took the kids. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah, it was perfect.
So perfect. It's one of those days I'm sitting there watching baseball where I grew up going with my parents, and my kids are running around. You're trying not to be annoyed as they're like picking things up off the ground, and I'm like, this is the good stuff. You know what I mean? The weather was just immaculate. But I say that to tell you that we're driving back, and we're driving by the Raven Stadium there, the bank. And my wife's like, I should go to this game this year, right? Like, it's an opportunity to see my team in a stadium that isn't awful, with an atmosphere that isn't bad. I should definitely go to that, right? I'm like, yeah, totally. Why wouldn't you?
It's great. It's the thing that I want when it comes to a stadium, right? Correctly placed, walkways, friendly to pedestrians, friendly to parkers, friendly to public transport, whatever. Just welcoming.
Off the highway.
They want you to be there.
Yeah.
And they make it very clear. There's no obstruction. There's no, you got to go that way or whatever. So easy. Food is way cheaper. You get in and out real quick. 10 out of 10 experience.
His answer, Payne and Allen, I've not thought about it that way.
But it makes sense to me, right? Like if the thought is we might be better, thinking about last year with these 2 first-round defensive ends, they're the stars of our pass rush. You guys hold the point of attack. You guys do some of those things where you occupy an extra blocker, hold the point of attack, versus you're our 2 best pass rushers now. Even if you leave something free, get up that field, engage in disruption. You've seen both of those guys at different times do that to a good degree. That's not a crazy idea.
History says that he's going to be right on Diami Brown as being overhyped because we've done this before. I was guilty of it a year ago where you go out to camp, you watch him, he shines, you watch in the preseason, he lights it up, and everyone says this is the year, and then it's not the year. Maybe this time is different, but I'm going to be in wait and see mode. I have basically, I've a few times over now touched the pot and it's burned me. So I'm just going to stay away. But I think he could be onto something if history repeats itself.